Hey, what's going on, y'all? In this video, what I want to do is I want to talk to you about some mistakes that you've been making or possibly been making in this past couple of years watching me on YouTube with your credit. Sometimes, when you're watching these mistake videos, what they do is they talk to you about paying your credit cards on time. We know these things, right? That's basic information. Don't carry balances month to month. We know these things. That's basic information. What I want to do in this video is possibly talk to you and maybe help you on your credit journey. There's going to be a lot of links that I'm going to include in this video. So please stick to the whole through the whole video so that you get a good understanding of all the mistakes. There's only 5. I'm going to try and be real brief with them, but I really need you guys to at least comb through this video and go through the links, and I'm pretty sure that if you go through these links that I'm going to give to you, some of these links will help you. So one of the first mistakes that I want to talk about that people possibly make when dealing, going through their credit journey is when you apply for credit, how do you know if you're going to get approved for that credit or not? When I deal with a lot of clients, when I talk to clients, one thing they ask me is, how do I know which credit card to apply for and which ones would I get approved for? See, one thing you don't want to do is get a whole bunch of inquiries on your credit report, especially if you're not getting approved. So what I want to do is I want you guys to go in the bottom of this video, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to include some links that you guys can get pre-approved for. A lot of you don't know that you don't have to blindly apply for credit cards without knowing if you're going to get approved. Now, I want you to understand, just because it may say that you're going to get approved, pre-approved for this credit card or that credit card, does not necessarily mean that you're going to get accepted by that financial institution. But it's really important that when you guys are starting to apply, like there's American Express pre-approval credit links that I'm gonna have in the bottom. There's Chase, there's Discover It, which is one of the best starter cards. If you guys don't have a Discover It and you're just now getting ready to start building your credit, Discover It is probably one of the best financial institutions that you can start establishing your credit with. There's going to be several links that I'm going to have in the bottom. And the great thing about it is, if you go through this whole process of applying for the credit, maybe you don't have to incur a whole bunch of inquiries, because a lot of times when people don't get the credit, they'll call me up and say, hey, can I get this deleted off my credit report because I didn't get approved for that credit card? Let's cut those mistakes to a bare minimum and apply for the credit that we know we're going to get approved for. I would say that's probably one of the most important things that you guys can do with your credit profile is applying for the cards that you know you're going to get approved for. What good is it if you got an inquiry from American Express, but you don't have that American Express credit line? What good is it if you same thing with Chase or Capital One? All these companies have pre-approvals. So what I want you to do, if you're thinking about applying for one of these credit cards, you will just go in the link and see if you're pre-approved, especially if you have, you're just getting started. See if you get approved with the Capital One. See if you get approved with the Discover It, rather than getting inquiries on your credit report, these hard inquiries on your credit report, without even knowing if you're going to get approved or not. And that goes into the second mistake that people can be making with their credit, is not applying with the right financial institutions. What you want to do is you want to apply with financial institutions that you're going to be able to, establish a relationship with. What good is it trying to establish a relationship with like a First Premier or Open Sky or something like that? If you're just getting started with your credit, there is a better chance that you can go to a credit union and establish a relationship with that credit union, and they will build with you. Like when it's time for you to get an auto loan, there's a really good chance your local credit union will beat any financial institution as far as the rate that you're going to get on an auto loan, possibly a mortgage. But you may have to go around town and see what credit union you want to actually establish a relationship with. But what you do want to do, okay, what you do want to do is establish relationships with financial institutions that are going to grow with you. Capital One, Discover It, Chase. I'm not a real big fan of the Chase Bank. If you're not a private client, I don't want to get into that. But if you're having to pay fees and stuff like that, maybe you don't want to establish a relationship with Chase. But you have to start thinking about building relationships with the proper financial institutions. Open Sky is going to give you a credit card and it's not going to graduate. So the great thing about Capital One and Discover It is when you apply, and these are great starter credit cards if you're just getting started. But if you get a secure credit card with Discover It or Capital One, those credit cards are going to graduate. The First Premier, Merrick Bank, Credit One, these credit cards, they're not going to graduate you at any point. That 250 credit line is going to be with you forever. It's just my opinion. You want to establish relationships with the proper financial institutions so that when you're ready to grow and get more credit cards, you're already established with a great financial institution. And when you build a great history with a financial institution, they're going to grow. They're going to extend more credit line, give you credit increases. They have more credit products. And so it's up to you to figure out a plan on the financial institution that you want to establish yourself with. The third mistake that you can be making with your credit. Now, I know I talk about making sure that you pay your credit cards before the statement date, but most of you don't know that it's important for you to pay that credit card off before the statement date and wait a little bit before you start using that credit card. What's a little bit? About a week. So let's say you have a statement date. If you don't know, there's a statement date and then there's a due date. Your statement date is the most important date to me that you can have. If you pay your bills by the statement date, you're not going to have interest. If you wait until the statement date and then you want to pay from the statement date to the due date, let's say your statement date may be the 28th. You could have a due date on the 7th of the next month. So as long as you pay your bill before the statement date, you're not going to pay any interest. But if you wait, then what's going to happen is you're going to have to pay the interest. That's when that balance is going to hit your credit report. So you want to make sure that you know your statement date. Your state call your credit company. Call your credit company and figure out all the statement dates to your credit cards. Look at the statement date, write it on your calendar, and whatever credit cards that you have that you use on a consistent basis, that's the date that you want to use as far as when you pay your credit card, not the due date. Do not wait till the due date to pay your credit card. A lot of times people say, oh, I pay my credit card every month. When do you pay your credit card every month? That's the important thing. Because if you're waiting till the due date, you're getting interest and that balance is going on your credit profile. So know your statement date, pay your credit cards off by the statement date. Now, this fourth thing that I'm going to talk to you about, it's my opinion. All right. Some of it is my opinion and some of it is factual. When you think about installment loans, if your debt to income ratio on your installment loans is too high when you're going to apply for a mortgage or something like that, your mortgage broker is going to tell you they want you anywhere between, 20 to 35%, no higher than 25 to 35% when you're applying for a loan. So if you're carrying a lot of debt, That's not necessarily a good thing. Sometimes one of the tricks that people will do is they'll take out a loan and pay off all their credit cards. That way, their utilization drops. That's true. But it's going to get to a point where when you get to too much debt, it's going to be harder to even get more credit. Why do I say that? This is my opinion. Is because this is what I've seen dealing with people, dealing with a lot of clients that will have great credit scores, but they have a lot of debt. Some banks, like if you apply for a credit card, some banks have something called a bankruptcy score. And what that bankruptcy score is telling them is that you have a lot of personal debt. A bankruptcy score is kind of like a debt to income ratio. That's one of the things that nobody talks about. And this happens when you're applying for credit cards as well. It's not just when you're applying for a car or applying for a mortgage. It's also when you're applying for credit cards. So if you have a really high credit score and you're carrying a lot of debt and you're not getting approved or you're not getting increases, that could be a reason why you're not getting a lot of increases on your credit report, is that you have a lot of debt. So what you want to do is make sure that you have a healthy debt to income ratio. And if you make a lot of money and you still carry a lot of debt, the system can still be triggered to think or believe that you're still in bankruptcy red flag area. But just look up bankruptcy score and you will get a good understanding of what the bankruptcy score is and what carrying a lot of installment loans on your credit profile can actually do. It can actually hinder you from getting additional debt. So focus on your installment loans, not just, having a low utilization rate. Having a low debt to income ratio is great also. That's going to benefit you as well. So the fifth thing that I want to talk to you about as far as credit mistakes is, I know I talked to you about the third thing, and the third and the fifth thing kind of goes hand in hand. The third was keeping track of your statement dates. Well, the fifth thing is organizing your credit cards. How do you know which credit card to use in a financial institution? How do you keep track of your statement dates? Well, there's several apps that you can use. One is called, I believe it's Max Rewards. The one that I use is called Card Pointers. When you put all your credit cards into the Card Pointers app, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to see all your credit cards. And when you go into a financial institution, it will tell you which card to use in that financial institution to maximize your reward points. It will also keep track of your statement dates. The great thing about the Card Pointers app is that you don't have to log your credit cards in. You just tell it which credit cards that you have, and it automatically knows your rewards for that credit card. So you're not sitting there having to put a lot of information in. All that information is already into their database. And so all you have to do is log your credit cards into this app, and it will tell you that when, let's say, you walk in a Walmart, well, which card do I use when I walk in a Walmart? It will tell you exactly which card to use. If you're at a restaurant, it will tell you exactly which card to use in that restaurant. It's a great app. Go in the link in the description area of this video, and I have several links. No longer am I going to be affiliated with any links. If I tell you that I'm affiliated, then I'm affiliated. But none of the links am I affiliated with. These are just apps and techniques that I use to keep track of my credit, to make sure my credit is on the up and up. I hope this video helps you. I don't want to make it too long, but I did want to give you some things to think about in organizing your credit, maybe applying for credit. So please go in the description of this video. I put some links in this video in the description area so that it will help you. All right. So you guys have a blessed day. I don't want to make this a long video. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Talk to you later. Bye bye.